Do you know how annoying it is that these motions are so abrupt and you can't seem to get your footage smooth when you try to fly around the drone? Luckily, there are some settings inside the DJI Fly app that will help you adjust this so you can record some buttery smooth footage. In this video, we will take a closer look at that. Welcome to another video. I'm Henrik Olsen, and if you want to learn how to make better videos with your camera and drone in general, then consider subscribing to my weekly tips, tests, and tutorials. So the trick here is that there's basically two motions that we need to control. There's the yaw motion of the drone, so you'll be able to do like a manual point of interest much smoother than this. And you need to be able to control your gimbal settings. It's not stopping the gimbal when you tilt it up and down with this wheel, that it's not stopping so abrupt. So the way that you do that is that you go under the three dots in the upper right corner here. Then you go under the tab that's called Control. Then you find the section that is called Advanced Gimbal Settings. Under here you have three sections. One for the normal mode, one for sport mode, and also one for the Cine Smooth mode. And in each section, let's just use the normal mode here as an example. You have a pitch speed and a pitch smoothness. And these two parameters are linked to the gimbal alone. So if I take the pitch speed and I crank it up to 100, you can see when I touch the wheel here, see, it looks absolutely horrible. So if I go in and adjust that, so I slow down the speed here, I go to maybe 10 degrees per second, you can see the motion is a lot softer. We need to reduce the pitch smoothness, which is basically how soft the gimbal lands when we let go of the wheel here. So if I just try and pull that all the way down, you would see that it stops exactly when I let go of the stick here. And this is not what we want. We want this setting to the other end. So we maybe want to go to 30, maybe the highest possible setting. Let's just see how bad that is. Not how bad it is, how good it is. So you see, so if you set that as high as possible, the gimbal will land very softly. You can't reduce it to maybe like it was default to 25-ish, and that would still look pretty decent. But for this drone here, it seems the higher the better. So I would put it up there for this setting. Like that. Then there's the yaw motion. So let's just take that just for the sake of it. If I increase that, you will see that if I yaw here, it will go very, very fast. This is probably the worst movement that you can do with a drone. And that's the panning shot. That normally looks really, really horrible. So you need to strive to make that as slow as possible. So we just go in here again and we reduce the yaw rotation speed to the lowest possible value. There might be differences between iOS and Android for this implementation, but just select the lowest possible value for the yaw rotation speed. The same goes with the yaw smoothness. Because we reduce the speed so much, you will not see the big difference there. So we just need to let that go as high as possible. Turn around, see it lands very softly. And still, with those parameters, see? So when I let go, it lands very softly. So this is basically the way that you want to go. And now, as you saw, there are three sections available for this, so you can do something for each of these sections. I don't normally film in sport mode. I use that as a transportation mode. So what I would do here is I would basically put up at least my yaw rotation speed. I would put that high, and I would make sure that the smoothness is low. So when I navigate the drone, I don't need, of course, need to put it into sport mode, otherwise these will not take effect. So the drone will act very rapidly on my movement, because then I can use that as a transportation tool to get to the location where I want. The same goes with the gimbal. I don't want that slow. So that's perfectly fine, because then I can move the drone to the location where I want to film, and then I can switch it into normal mode. And then I have these nice and soft motions. And you could say, isn't Cine mode basically the same? Yes, it is. So what you could decide to do, you could decide to make your normal mode a little bit faster and then go for these absolutely low settings. Let's just try that. So we go with 10 there. We put the pitch smoothness to 30. We pull down the rotation speed like this. And then the yaw smoothness, we can put that whatever we want. So if I put that in Cine mode, Cine Smooth, I would have the same soft, smooth motions. Then you could go in on the normal mode again, and then you could increase some of these parameters by a tad. Something like that. So when you use your own normal mode, you still have a little bit more response. Because that's the beauty, that you have these 3 levels that you can adjust individually.
You know what? This is only a fraction of the parameters that you can set up for your new DJI Air 2S. I made a video with all the basic settings that I use setting up the DJI Fly app for first flight. In case you missed that video, you can access it through this card or through a link in the description below.
So this is how I would go about setting up the drone with the best gimbal and yaw settings for recording cinematic footage. There's a lot more into this than just getting your gimbal and yaw settings right to do the cinematic recordings that you see all over the web. But you also need to look into stuff like the right frame rate as well as the right shutter speed to generate this look and feel of cinematic settings. But at least this is a good starting point. If you want to pick up your own DJI Air 2S, then of course you can find purchase links in the description below. Are you all pumped up about the DJI Air 2S like I am? Then I compiled a playlist with all the videos that I have been generated around this drone, and you can access this video through this card. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then feel free to give it a like. If you didn't like it, feel free to press the dislike button twice. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you around.